This lesson I want to look at logical operators. So what do you think is going to happen here if I do A and B? So all we're doing is we're updating our output of our inner HTML A and B. So let's just see what happens here. And we see that we get a value, we actually get the value of B. What's happening here is that we're doing a logical operation. So we've got an example here at Mozilla where we're doing these logical operators. So we're returning expression 1 if it can be converted to false. Otherwise it returns expression 2. And that's exactly what's happening there. So we can also see here that we can do an or we can do a not. So let's update that and change this to an or. And so this is what's happening here is we're trying to work with Boolean values. So now we get a value of 6 because or, so we do have a value contained within A, so it just writes that first available value, and because neither one is a true or false, then that's where we're getting those returned back. So if we had something like variable C and we're going to equal that to true, variable D and equal that to false. So we get some Boolean values happening there. So now if I do C and D, refresh that, and we see that we get a value of true. And the reason being is that we've got or, so if either one of these is true, then it's going to stay true. But if we do an and, we have to make sure that they're both going to be equal to true. So we're going to get a result of false. So essentially that's how it's working, and normally you would be using Boolean values for these type of comparisons. So you'd be waiting to see if your condition comes out true and if it comes out false, and then you would determine the logical outcome from what's being returned. So we've got a bunch of examples here of if we've got true and true, then we return true. If it's true and false, then we return false, and so on. So this is definitely worth looking through and understanding better how logical operators return back the values as we're passing them through, and how it does its calculations and applies its logic to them. So in this lesson, we've already looked at some of the built-in methods that are already pre-built in JavaScript, such as the parse, int, changing a string to an integer. And we're going to look at these in a little bit more detail about just different methods, built-in methods in JavaScript, and we can see that they are very useful, and we're going to look at some of the more common ones that are used within JavaScript coding. So that's coming up in the next lesson.